Welcome back to 11 TV Hill, and a big week ahead for our next guest as the 2017 Maryland General Assembly convenes on Wednesday. Joining us now, two members of the House of Delegates. She represents Baltimore and Harford counties as well. Minority Whip Republican Kathy Szlaga and Deputy Majority Whip Kurt Anderson representing Baltimore City. Thank you both for coming by.
Thank you.
Did I get that right?
Oh yeah, you got it right.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
I mean, it's not one of the titles that I actually use that often.
Yeah.
My big job is being chairman of the Baltimore City delegation.
Certainly. Tell me a little bit about the gentleman that we just heard. I want to give you both a chance to sort of respond. A lot of talk about money. As far as priorities when it comes to the Republican Party, what did you make of what they had to say, and where are things headed as far as you're concerned?
Well, the citizens who elected Governor Hogan across our state were very pleased with the fact that he's lowering tolls, he's lowering fees, he's putting as much money back in people's pockets as possible. And what we have, I think I'm very concerned about the partisanship that seems to be ramping up here. And the legislature continues to increase mandated spending without a way to pay for it.
Sure.
And so that's putting a lot of pressure on the budget, and I think we need a serious discussion about mandates and what's a need and what's a want. And I think that's what Governor Hogan's concern is. We have a lot of things that we want to fund, but every dollar that we use comes out of a citizen's pocket. And so we need to make sure we're reining in those mandated spending measures.
Is there concern within the city of Baltimore that they may be left out at all when it comes to maybe filling this budget gap, and there are some needs here in the city?
Well, before I respond to that, let me just say that, look, you talk about these issues of fracking and the transportation issues and the budget and all that stuff. This is 2017. There have already been 4 murders in Baltimore City. There were 318 murders last year. As a legislator from Baltimore, I can't talk about anything else except for the violence in our city. I can't work on anything else except for trying to come up with solutions to violence in our city. And I was very happy to hear the Mikes, Mike Miller and Mike Bush, talk about the heroin epidemic, although because it's now a statewide epidemic, it's getting attention. It's been a Baltimore epidemic for years. I was glad to hear them talk about the fact that education is a top priority, because the only way we solve this problem long term is to make sure our kids understand what America's all about, what the history of America is about, and to get them to have a stake in our way of living as opposed to the way some of these kids are living now. So as far as the governor's concerned, anytime a man will come to Baltimore as often as he does in terms of at least trying to understand the problems and work with the problems, he's okay with me. I don't care about all this partisan stuff, okay? The one thing I care about is trying to make sure that we get what we need in Baltimore to help, A, the drug problem, the policing problem, as well as making sure our kids get a good education. So I'm sorry if I'm not you're the kind of guest that goes along to get along, but you cannot be a legislator in Baltimore and not be upset about what's going on in our city, the number of people that are being murdered every year.
Well, talk about crime a little bit, and we know what the role with the city right now as far as the feds coming in and sort of adjusting things as far as police reform goes. What can the state do at this point to bring this number down?
I think that you can see Delegate Anderson pointed out that Governor Hogan's been in Baltimore City quite a bit.
Sure.
And it is a bipartisan solution that we need. All of us are concerned about the violence in Baltimore City, and we all care about the education. Look, we have a mandate to make sure we deliver a quality education to all the students across our state. Yeah. We are currently spending about $18,000 per year per student in Baltimore City. During the last mayoral election, we had a lot of talk about accountability. Sure. And so let's look at that side of the equation as well. $18,000 per student, plus $1 billion in capital to improve those schools, and yet we have 43% of the kids that start 9th grade drop out of high school. Yeah. Those are just not acceptable numbers. Well, Kathy, I was very proud this past week to see Governor Hogan in Baltimore City kicking off a new jobs program. I think we have a bipartisan agreement that we need to increase the trades education. I'm in the construction business, and I know we need to do that, and I know Kurt agrees with me.
Go ahead, jump in.
Well, I didn't want the education statistics to go unchallenged. We spend a lot more on education for our children because we have children in such greater needs than any other part of the state. Many of the special needs, special education children are in Baltimore City. We have a third more than any other jurisdiction has. We also have more children in Baltimore City who have the free lunch programs. That means that the more of the poor kids are in Baltimore City. So certainly we're going to spend more money on our children.
And I think that's, and I think we all expect that.
Right.
But when Baltimore City Public Schools fails to find $50 million for 3 different budget years in a row, I think we need to say that we need. Well, that was 3 different budgets.
Well, let's redirect, because the original question was about crime, and let's go back there, because no, education.
Crime and education are very important.
Yes, and education has a
right. We need bipartisan solutions.
We have a minute left, but just talk to me about crime, because at some point we're going to have to address either guns on the streets or people getting shot in their homes. What can the state do?
The theory that the police commissioner has, and that is getting the violent offenders off the street.
Okay.
That is a good theory.
Yes.
That has worked in Chicago. Well, let me take it back.
Yeah, don't talk about Chicago.
It has worked in New York.
Yeah.
It had worked in Chicago up till last year. I think Chicago's murders were around 400 last year. Now it's up 700.
Almost 800 this year.
It was 718 this year. But my point is that you got to go off get after the violent offenders, get the guns off the streets, deal with the people who are creating the problems right now, and then also long-term make sure our kids get a good education.
Well, and part of the equation is also with crime in Baltimore is making sure that these offenders are prosecuted.
Sure.
And too often when they commit a crime with a handgun, with a firearm, they are not punished.
Healthy
they are
debate.
not held to account.
Healthy debate. I like it. I'm sorry, they tell me I got to go. You can